Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Subscribing to My Podcast. Because I have a new guest on the show every week, it's very difficult to get consistent viewership. So if there's one thing that you can do to support me and the guest featured on my show, is by interacting with the video. You can always unsubscribe later if you hate me or the content. Without further ado, here's your episode with Sergeant Davis Zachary. Just got back from a 10-month deployment in the Middle East where we had him 10 months ago on the show, longtime Madrid friend, and he's come back with some wisdom, some stories, and then most of all, just to catch up and see what's going on. But Zach, for the people that maybe didn't watch that episode, which you should go do, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell some of the viewers some of the important things they should know about you.
So yeah, thank you for having me on. I know last time I was here, I was getting ready to deploy again, so it's good to be back. My name is Zach Davis. I graduated from Madrid with Elijah. I kind of just been, I after high school, I moved out, started working full time, doing construction stuff, and then had a couple, things along the way that was talked about in the last podcast, so you should go check that out. And then, but yeah, then I got my own podcast, considering I just got back from deployment and just moved into my new domicile. I'm working on getting that set up and trying to find the right spot for lighting and everything, But nothing too crazy about me. I'm just a man, trying to be a man, be a good role model for my friends and my family. So, I just work every day towards that, I guess, until I die, and then they can talk about me after I'm gone.
Yeah, and so for those of you who stopped and went back and watched the first episode, I would really like just a quick refresher on your story, which I think is really cool. From my memory, it was just like you were surrounded by family but by the people in your life, and you kind of made a willing decision that you weren't going to be like that, and you were going to just supersede, and you love your family, of course.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was like, hey, I need to work on myself, and I need to become better, and you kind of went on this big journey of self-discovery. But I kind of just want to hear about that again and just refresh
inspiration, huh?
Yeah, refresh everyone's minds on just kind of like what your story is, and how that affects you.
I love my family, and looking back, I don't regret anything that I did back in the day. It just helped me become who I am now. But it's one of those situations where you have two different people, and they have the same situation. One of them is going to fall into it, and the other one is going to learn and then move and just blow up from that. And so I seen the way my family was with money and addictions, and I just kind of, from that moment, I was smart enough to make the decision that I didn't want to go down that path. And being in the Army actually helped me tremendously with that. Being surrounded by those like-minded people and that discipline where someone is always above you, and they're gonna drop their foot on you if you act out of line, So that really helped me keep my head on my shoulders. But yeah, you're just surrounded by, they're not horrible influences, it's just not a desirable life that I want to live. So I just kind of made it my goal to, grow up from that and do my own thing. And like the song is put on for my city, put on for my brother, make sure that he has someone to look up to, that, I still have my problems and, I'll slip and fall. But as long as he gets the message to get back up, and then when you get up, you're back to the full stride and you're just going back at it again. So that's kind of what I aim to do. And anyone, even the subordinates that I have under me, even though we're all the same age, and I may be in a position of quote unquote power, I'm still a young guy, so I can still relate to the, 18, 19-year-olds and have some sympathy for them, but also be that, 30-year-old, hopefully. I know I'm kind of immature sometimes, but they can see me as someone who's going to point them in the right direction and, just kind of guide them through whatever, issues they have going on in their personal life or work life or whatever it is,
Well, yeah, and I think it's a super motivational, way of thinking. But I guess I wonder, what were some of those decisions that you were making, or some of those philosophies that you took up, where you're like, I can't be thinking like this anymore. Is there anything in particular that jumps out to you that you heard that you were just kind of damn? And
growing up,
and it kind of just changed the way, and this is where you made the change. This is what you were looking for.
Once I found out how cheap pasta was and how easy that was to make, I was like, we're eating pasta 3 days a week. This is a $5 meal that can easily feed 6 people. And it was just a bunch of small stuff like that. Maybe my phone was off for maybe a few days, and I'm like, what's going on with my phone? Because I was young enough, and my parents were paying for it or whatever, and they're like, we don't have the money to pay for that, or even up till when I graduated, I had to pay for my own cap and gown or whatever. So it was just small stuff like that along the entire journey of my childhood, where either I was helping financially or there was nothing I could do because I didn't have any money, and I just kind of had to go through it with my parents. And I wasn't I wouldn't rub it in their face or say it's your fault that I'm living like this, or compare our life to like another family's life, and be like, I wish we were more like them. It wasn't like I don't know where that kind of came from, where I just like respected my parents, and in my mind they were doing the best they could with the cards dealt, So, but I knew that I was not going to live like that. So I mean, we're eating Wagyu steaks every night from now on.
You've earned it, bro. So tell me about deployment and what that looked like. I'm super excited to hear about.
Yeah.
Nobody our age is doing stuff like this, really, or at least that come back and tell me about it. So I'm just really curious.
Yeah.
I guess start from the beginning and walk me through it.
I should have brought some water instead of some rain energy. Actually, this is good. I'll start yapping. But so when we first got briefed on the deployment, I don't know how long before it was. It was probably a year before. And the destination was Kuwait, and everyone knows that Kuwait's kind of like a vacay spot out in the Middle East. You're getting tax-free money to just kind of do whatever. Like there's no threat. There's there's nothing really going on out in Kuwait. Kuwait's been like an established place for since the early 2000s, I believe. After the United States drove Al Qaeda out, and the Kuwait government just kind of said, "Thank you, U.S. Here's a big base for you, and we'll as long as we can chip in a little bit and have our part there, then it'll all work out." So that's where we thought we were going. And then we heard, closer to us leaving, it was Saudi Arabia. But I didn't know anything about Saudi Arabia like I did with Kuwait. And Saudi Arabia's kind of like, they're on like the road to becoming more like westernized. And their prime minister or whoever, their leader, the guy in charge of that country he admires the way the U.S. kind of lives life out here, with the freedoms that we have and all that kind of stuff. So in 2020, women were able to drive. I don't know much about the face coverings. I know that when I was downtown in that country at the Capitol, there was women walking around with their face covered and their black getup. And but I don't know if it was because it was more of a sign of respect for their religion of Islam, and they admire the what's the word I'm looking for, modesty. And they don't want to show off for other men. And then, I don't know hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying this. We were downtown and one of my buddies, some of them didn't have that. So some of them were walking around just kind of willy-nilly or whatever. They even had a little bit of makeup on, they were looking beautiful. But I mentioned that to one of my buddies, and he's like, the ones with their face covered are what do you say, claimed or something like that. I was like, bro, you did not just say that. And we were whispering because we're just a bunch of white dudes in downtown some Muslim country,
Were you guys all uniformed up? Or
No, absolutely not. So yeah, we were it was supposed to be discreet, but everyone, if you have tattoos, you got to have them covered. So people are wearing long sleeves and you have to wear pants. And so you're wearing these long sleeve Nike shirts that you can only buy at the store on the base in Saudi Arabia that we were at. And they've probably seen those shirts thousands of times. They're like, those guys are military stationed in Peace Ave. These guys, we know who you are. But yeah, it was pretty cool. We were in Saudi Arabia for probably 4 or 5 months, maybe. It was basically a majority of, or at least half the deployment, probably even more. And I'm getting off track. I was thinking about the UFC fight that I got to go to, but that's after we got back to Saudi. So then we were in Saudi Arabia, January 28th. I believe that's the date. I hope I didn't mess that up. We were an engineer unit within a battalion. So a battalion has a bunch of different companies within it, and so we deployed as one unit into a separate battalion. So this battalion is what I kind of gathered is they kind of support with funding and movement of troops. And so there's all these engineers in the Middle East, and they are the top dog of that, basically. And so part of battalion was in Tower 22, which is in Jordan, northeast Jordan, and it's on the border of Iraq, Syria is to the north, and then there's that base right there in northeast Jordan. And so on the 28th of January this last year, they had gotten hit, or this year, 2024, they got hit with a drone strike, and 3 of their guys died, and then there was 60-something more casualties. And so, it was everything was kind of shook up. We had to, we couldn't call home or, text our families or anything like that, being in Saudi Arabia still, so we couldn't talk to anyone back home. My buddies, we got really big into Clash of Clans, and he's like, can I still text in the chat in Clash of Clans? I was like, I need troops, bro. And so, that was kind of funny.
It's yeah, they need him in Jordan, too.
Yeah, no kidding. But, I never met those people personally. I know we probably ran into them in Texas before everyone, because we all kind of mobilized at the same time, and we were all in Texas somewhere. We crossed paths, And but then my unit gathered a small team of vertical guys. I believe it was like 11 of the vertical guys who do like electrical work, plumbing. There was like two plumbing guys. There was probably like 4 or 5 electrical guys. And the last like 6 of us was 12 Whiskeys, which is what I am. And it's just like concrete, framing, and then like masonry and all that kind of stuff. So it was like one evening they told us, because we were guessing that we were going to be going up to Jordan to like replace those guys. And it was like one evening I was really hoping I got to go, because I would like pop into my squad leader's room and be like, hey, if anything happens, I'd really love to go, blah, 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 and like see more of the Middle East. And one evening they had us go into a meeting in this bunker, and it's like probably 4 foot tall. So everyone's like squatting over, like trying to kneel down or whatever. But we're in there and they're giving us this brief about how we're going to be going north. And so I was so happy. And everyone in there was like excited, because it was like it was like a draft. They like drafted people. And it was kind of a flex, because there's like 4 platoons. So it's probably like 50, 60 guys. So there's 4 of those within the company. And everyone that went north, most of the people that went north was part of my platoon. All the verticals were anyway. So it was like all the plumbers, the electricians, and the Whiskeys, which is the carpenters and masons. We all were the only ones selected vertical-wise to go up there. And there was probably like 4 or 5 horizontal guys that drive those big machines like dozers or all that kind of stuff, like dump trucks and all that. And then there was like probably 4 or 5 mechanics that got to go. And so we were stoked about that. Time got closer to us leaving. I had built like friendships with this girl up in Saudi Arabia. And actually, back up, I had gotten broke up with over, it was like a text. She like texted me, and then it was like 6 a.m. This was probably 4 or 5 days before we left. And so I was already speculating that I was leaving. And I was thinking in the back of my mind, like, if she would just leave me, then I would not be stressed at all about anything. Yeah. And so she texted me one morning. She's like, can I call you? And I like immediately knew. I was like, this is it right here. And so she's like, I have this whole text written up in my notes. You want me to read it to you? I was like, no, just like talk to me. It's 6 a.m. Like I'm like I was up late last night thinking about this stuff. And then so she kind of just dumped it all on me. And I was like, she's like, do you have anything you want to say? And she's like crying over the phone. I'm like, I got to go to work. So I was I understand. I respect your decision, blah, blah, blah. And then like 4 or 5 days later, we got selected to go. So I was pretty happy about that.
Damn, dude, you throw on some Zach Bryan and you get fighting.
Cold shoulder, closing time.
Dang, dude.
But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things I was kind of okay with, because I could see it, like I could see the end was coming to it was coming to a close basically. Like I could see it just like slowly just depleting. And I was just like, wait, it was just stressing me out that it wasn't over yet. And I was like, just either end it or you have to give me some like crystal ball that just like tells me like tomorrow morning I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be fine. But so yeah, that happened. We got into transit. We flew kind of all, not even really all over at this point. We flew straight to Jordan, or we stopped in like Kuwait or Qatar or one of those rich countries. And then we got to Jordan. We hung out in Jordan for a little bit at the Air Force Base, and then we got an escort from the Jordanian military. You drove I think it's like 5 hours up to that base. So there's no helicopter traffic going to and from the base in like the middle of Jordan, from there to Tower 22. So we had, I was part of the early people that went too. So it was like probably 5 or 6 people that went up early just to kind of like scout it out or whatever, and like send reports back to the guys that are going to be following us. So yeah, we went up there in our little posse. We got an escort from the Jordanians. They get paid per person per hour. And that's by the U.S. government. So they do not care how long it takes to get up there. We're like stopping, and like these guys are just kind of smoking cigarettes, and like we're on the side of the road, and there's like people on their like little bikes through the towns. Like they don't know what's going on. They like see the military, and then they see a janky bus, and they're like, keep the curtains closed. And so like all the curtains on the windows are shut, and you're like trying to peek out of them and like take pictures and stuff. But yeah, so I mean, we're like in this town in Jordan for like probably an hour and a half, and like there's only one bathroom stop, and thankfully it was there. It was like this little toilet. If you want, like, would I be able to send you pictures and you can like add them to this or no?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you some pictures. I got a picture of like the toilet that you like pee and poo in.
Yeah.
And like those people don't have like normal toilets. They have like a hole in the ground with like a plastic like covering around it, like around the edges, and there's like, just a hole. And so like they'll just squat down right there and they'll just drop a deuce, or like you just
It's like a Legends bathroom.
Yeah, you just pee into the hole. So yeah, I mean, we stopped there, took a leak, and then just kind of hung out. We got to the base. Our driver that had our bags in it, he didn't know where he was going when we got onto the base, so he took us to like the very back corner. It's not a very big base, but like when you're carrying however much, like 300 or 400 pounds worth of bags, it's like, bro, don't drop us off in the far corner, bro. Ask somebody where we're going. And so we get parked out here. He dumps the bags, and he's like out of there. Like he does not want to be there. And that was kind of sketchy. We're like, why is this guy in such a rush, bro? Like what's about to happen?
Yeah.
But then we get picked up. There's this jank truck that pulls up with these two they're soldiers from Alabama. They're like, yeah, throw your bags in the back and get on in here. We're going to take you to the shop. And so we like threw all of our stuff back there, and they drove us over to this tent, and that was going to be our tent after they had left. So what had happened was the attack hit. Everyone that was like all the engineers that suffered from that attack already were gone. Like they already left. And so except for like probably 5 other guys, the other guys that were still there were like in different bases in Syria. So they took flights, like chain flights from like one base to the next. They'd hang out there, and then eventually they made their way back to Tower 22 where all of their guys were. So they were the ones that were going to kind of give us the lay of the land and let us know how things kind of go out there. They kind of gave us a little brief. They didn't really... I don't know, they weren't like the most professional, but you could tell they were just like used to being out, and like they were out there for the whole like time that we were in Saudi. So they were just kind of like run down almost. Like they just didn't care. We had some female supply sergeant. She did not like the fact that one of their guys was just smoking darts in the tent. So he's like got his feet kicked up. They're giving us this brief, and this guy's just smoking a dart. Like just like nothing's happening. And she was upset about the cigarette smell and how it's just stuck in the tent and all this other stuff. But yeah, life up there was pretty good, and we did some small projects for the tent to like improve the workspace. My buddy and I did.
So was the mission to go back up to Jordan and kind of fill up the lost space that we lost like from damage and then from people? Okay.
Yeah, so we weren't in charge of cleaning up the blast site, but we were in charge of picking up where they kind of left off and plus more. We were ranked number 1 in the battalion, so out of all the engineer units, we were the best. And so that was pretty nice. And I don't know if this is true or not, but we were the best platoon. I'm saying it, we were the best platoon in the Middle East that entire time. Like we had the best platoon, and I got no evidence or facts to back that up, except for the confidence in my heart.
Yeah.
That we were the greatest platoon out there. So we did. We just picked up where they left off. I think, in my humble opinion, that we did a spectacular job up there. Everyone on base loved the engineers like us, because all they have to do is be like, hey, can you do this for us? And we'll either say yes or no. And like, so you do a lot of favors out there kind of. So we had to lean off from that because the funding was going more to side projects sometimes than the actual projects that were on paper that battalion wanted to get done.
You've been kind of killing it, so I figured the rain wasn't gonna.
Yeah, I haven't even touched that thing really. But anyway. So then a few days pass. We do these projects for our tent to get the workspace looking nice. I'll send you some pictures of that too. It was banging. And so that gets done around the same time that the rest of the guys show up. So they all show up. They get put into these transient tents that we were staying in. And as they're moving into these tents, we kind of got put into our own rooms. And so what I didn't know was the door doesn't really shut all the way. I mean, I kind of knew that, but there's a bunch of stray dogs and cats out there. And so one of the cats would go into the tents, the transient tents, where people would stay if they're only staying a couple days, or maybe they stay there until they get their own rooms. And the cats would like go in there and just like scurry around, and then like they'd pee all over stuff, and it was like they had carpet in that tent, and it smelled like straight cat piss. And I'm like, bro, I didn't notice that until I went in there after I had gotten my own room. So I guess I'm kind of thankful for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the guys that came up after us, they didn't stay. They went up to Syria, so they hung out with us for probably another 3 or 4 days, and then they got a chopper to a base in Syria. And right when they got to Syria, they had, it was pretty cool, by the way, seeing the Chinook come in. Like, it was a Chinook that was being escorted by a Black Hawk late at night. It was like 10 or 11 at night. And we only really do like the U.S. is like they say that we own the night. I mean, I don't know how true that is anymore, considering the Taliban and everyone else has night vision these days. Like it's not 2008 anymore, bro.
Yeah.
Like they have this technology now. But I mean, we're still flying around at night. We're doing most of our operations at night. And so they had a Black Hawk flying in, and they had a Chinook behind it. And so the Black Hawk landed, and we're all standing there in a group. I'm with the guys that are leaving because they're in my platoon, and I know them and I love them and everything. So I wanted to say goodbye, and like this Chinook came in. We're like, oh, here comes the Chinook, and it like whips the ass end sideways so it could land like this. And dude, when it whipped, both those propellers, like the force just like smoked you, and you're just like, you like get blown away. My headphones flew off my head. People are like turning around, like it was a mess. And I was like, we should have stood behind this wall right here.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? But then they got on, pieced out, and they landed. And like an hour after they landed, they were getting attacked there was a drone attack. And so like they landed, got their little brief, got moved into their rooms, and they call the thing over the intercom that signals a drone attack. And so they're all kind of confused. And like the guys that they moved in with, it's like an integrated housing, not with male and female, but with like different units. And so the guys were like running, banging on doors. They're like, get in the bunkers.
And you're here right now, yeah? Or did you?
No, I didn't go to Syria. This was their first night in Syria.
I see.
So yeah, they get into their rooms. Guys are banging on doors. They're hearing this like thing over the loud intercom. Like there's like 3 of them all around base. And so they go into the thing. They get to hear the deal shoot off and hit the drone or whatever. And then like we're sitting there, we're like, where's like nothing's happening here. Like this base just got hit like back in January, and nothing's happening. And we got briefed that it's getting attacked like every couple days, and so like a week probably, I think it was about a week went by, and I woke up. So I'm like, we're sleeping in these like they're like it's like a Lego set. You know how you just kind of put it together? Yeah. It's kind of like that. It's like there's 4 walls and then a roof, and you just put it together, and then you fasten it with the screws that come in a little package or whatever. So we're living in these. There's 4 of us in a room. And I was sleeping on my back. I always slept on my back. I don't know, like I still do it. And so I'm sleeping on my back. And when it calls for bunker, it says bunker, bunker, bunker. So it says it 3 times. And I'm laying there, and I faintly heard the last bunker. And so I like heard that, and it woke me up. And I shot up, and nobody's moving. I don't like hear anyone outside like running around. And I'm like, no way I just dreamt about that. And then, so I'm like standing there. My buddy is like behind me. I'm like, I stood up out of my bunk. I was on the bottom. My buddy's on the top bunk. And I'm like looking out the window this way. And I can't imagine, like, I wish we had him here because he thought I was a psychopath. Yeah. And so I was like staring out this window, like trying to like listen. And I'm like, just like kind of looking this way and trying to listen. I didn't hear anybody running around or yelling or like anything. And I'm like, okay. So then I lay back down. And I went like this, pull my blanket up, and then I hear all clear, and they said it 3 times, and I'm like, I like looked up as if like Richter, I could see him, and I was like, oh God. And so I was like, after every bunker call, we had to go back to the tent that we first got to, like our little home station, I guess, on the base, and we had to do accountability to make sure everyone was there. So I'm like laying down, and my buddy Trudell, he didn't see us in the bunker, and so Trudell comes up to our door, and he opens it, and I'm like still awake because I was like kind of tweaking a little bit. Yeah. And I'm like awake, and he opens the door right over here, and he like I see his little we all went bald, like we shaved our heads. Yeah. I see his little bean head stick into the doorway, and he goes, oh no. It like woke everyone up, and I like shot out of my bed. I was like, was that a bunker call? He's like, you guys slept through it? And I'm like, oh. I was like, oh no. He's like, was your window open? I was like, no. He's like, oh, this is not going to be good. So then we're like the last ones getting to our tent, and our platoon sergeant was like throwing a little fit. He's like, you guys need to get here faster, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, and I'm in my head, I'm like, bro, we just slept through that. Like, what if that happens again? And so from that night out, we left our freaking window open. Yeah. We were not taking any chances. And then, in Syria, it was kind of like we didn't really talk to them a lot. They'd text the group chat whenever they were getting hit. But I mean, nothing really hit. It was just like a bunch of attacks. So I mean, it was, I don't know. And I guess there was a run there for a little while where it was like maybe once every 3 days for maybe 2 or 3 weeks straight. Was just like random like attacks in the middle of the night. And so their whole goal like wasn't really to like kill anybody, because Iran was telling these proxy groups, like all these little terrorist groups in that area, they were like, do not kill any more Americans, because after they killed those 3, we sent like 100, us in the UK sent 150 missiles into like different countries. Like it was like Lebanon and then like Syria we hit. And then I don't know, the guy who orchestrated, I don't know if he orchestrated it or if he set it up. The guy who did that with the attack in January was like, apparently he was driving through the streets of Baghdad in Iraq, and there's this missile that came in, and he was like he was heading south. A missile came from south straight at him, and he was like driving a car and just smoked him. But it wasn't like an explosion missile. It was more like, it had like, it's almost like shrapnel. It's like knives almost. Mm-hmm. So it's like a real clean cut. Like it just absolutely obliterated that man. And yeah, because I was making a joke. I'm like, yeah, whoever launched that attack on the one that killed the Americans is probably hanging from a telephone pole right now.
Hell yeah,
like,
bro.
You killed Americans? Are you stupid? And then like, yeah, and then we just sent the 150 missiles, and then we whacked that guy off the planet. And then
bro,
it's just like,
America's just John Wick.
Dude, yeah, for real. Like after I heard about that, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm on this side. Like I don't know. There's no other military I'd want to be a part of.
You wouldn't be sleeping through a bunker call if you were on the other side. Tell exactly. You that.
So I mean, there was a period where they're trying to like mess with our sleep and like get us to be groggy and tired and all that. And then like the Russians, they had a base in Syria, not too far from us, and they'd be flying these real high altitude drones that was like it'd pull information from electronics. So you had to turn off everything, and you had to go inside so that they couldn't surveillance anything. Like we didn't want them to get a number on how many people were usually working on base. So, I mean, we had that a couple times, and, but yeah, it was just like, for a while there, I think it was pretty fun. Like, when you hear that bunker call, and then all of a sudden, like, you wake up to it, and you're like, okay, grab your kit, throw your sandals on, and then you're just right out the door, and you're like yelling, you're like, bunker, and every door you see, you're just like slamming on it, make sure everyone's out of there. But it was pretty fun. We were talking about how the bunker we went to was next to the gym. So we're like, dude, if they try to take away our recreation, like, we might be cooked. Yeah. I was like, I love this little gym. Like, it sucks, but I love this gym. Like, if they hit the gym, then our bunker is flipping over.
Yeah. If they hit the gym, we're going out,
yeah,
bro.
I'm gonna get a dumbbell to the face. Like, this is not good. And then while we were in Jordan, there was at Tower 22, there was when Iran sent all those missiles and drones to Israel, we were right under all of it. So like, the path of all those drones and missiles was like directly over us. And so we had the U.S. Air Force out there in their fighter jets. They'd always be out there patrolling. And most of the time the Air Force would shoot down a drone or a missile before it even gets close enough to call a bunker call. But yeah, that night they were shooting them off all those missiles from Iran, and the Air Force was up there, and they had like different Coyotes, which is like a small like an anti like drone or anti-missile that's like low flying. It's like a small little like box or whatever. I don't know how big it is, but yeah, they were shooting the drones out with that, and it was kind of cool to just be kind of like, you'd look up, and the bunker is really like crowded. So I mean, they called a bunker call. Actually, before that, we had gotten intel that Iran was going to send that. I'm pretty sure they tweeted it too. Like, I think they tweeted that they were going to just like, we're gonna take Israel off the map. And so like, I think that came out, but there was intel before that. We woke up at like midnight from one of our guys. He's like, he banged on our door. He opened the door and he goes, "Get up, there's 100 of them." And we're like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Get your weapon and get into the tent." And so we get out there. The guy was tweaking out about a movement of Iranian troops through Iraq. Apparently they were coming down to the southwest corner, which is right on the corner where we were. We were like on the corner, of Jordan. So it was like Tower 22, and then in Jordan, and then Iraq and Syria. And like one of the bases wasn't far from the south in Syria. It was probably like, I don't know how many miles away. But he was freaking out because he was convinced that there was going to be Iranian troops that were going to invade the base and like just walk through all these bases, the small FOBs that the U.S. owned. But the real thing was we got briefed on the attack that was going to happen that night. And so like we went back to bed. We're like, "Oh, it's a bunch of baloney, blah, blah, blah." We like lay down, and like 2:30 or something like that, there was like 2 a.m. hits and the first bunker call, and you can see everything kind of either flying or getting shot down. And so we're like, okay, that's cool. And then like that took like, dude, it took like an hour and a half. You're just sitting, I'm playing baseball 9 in the bunker every time I was in there. And I'm like, another home run. I'd like show my buddy. But like, so like that first one happened. We went and did our checks, came back. I played Zach Bryan, quitting time, and I laid down, and because Trudeau was like, "You think there's going to be another one immediately after?" And I was like, "I don't know." And so I like played the song, and I'm trying to go back to bed, and right as like, when you're about to fall asleep, everything's kind of closing. it was like that was happening. All of a sudden, the bunker call hit again. And I'm like, bro, it's been not even 3 minutes, bro. Like, I didn't even get through this song. And so we went back out there. And then by the time we got done, it was probably like pushing 4:15 or whatever. And I mean, you go back to bed and you wake up and you're back out to work the next morning at 7. So it's like, there's no, like, we didn't get a break whenever there was an attack. But we kind of found pride in it. It was like, we know they're trying to mess up our sleep schedule. So we're going to, like, even if we get an hour of sleep, we're going to come back out and we're going to swing hammers and build all this stuff that we're doing for another 10 hours, 11 hours in the day, and then go back to the gym, get dinner or whatever. And then we're going to go to bed. And then we're going to, if you do it again, then it's just going to be the same thing, like over and over again. So, I mean, nobody's morale was down. Like, everyone was happy. Like, it was just the strangest thing. In Saudi Arabia, everyone hated it. And then we get up to Jordan, and it's like countless nights of like little sleep. And you're just like, dude, this is so fun. Like, it's just like the thrill. I don't know. I can't even explain it.
This is incredible to hear. This is unbelievable. Like, having your phones out, like,
that's what I'm saying, bro.
On deployment is so funny. Like, you never think about that. Like, the clan wars are happening. You're like,
yeah, bro.
They're like, bunker. You're like, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It was the greatest thing ever.
Like, you just never think about a bunch of like younger guys who like know how to use a phone. You know what I mean?
We were talking about that. We're like, I wonder if people think that that people back home, they think the U.S. military are these big bad, like, just badass guys. It's like, we're just normal dudes who like have a little bit more fun in certain situations, and like we're okay with it.
Just, I can imagine like being in the bunker and there are like actual bombs going like above you, like planes getting crashed, and you're just like home run contesting on like a baseball. Like, that's just the craziest thing to imagine.
I'm sitting there doing trade deals on Baseball 9 in the middle of a bunker call.
Like that is so wild to me. And like these people think that they're messing with you guys, and you're all just laughing, playing Zach Bryan.
Exactly,
you're like,
bro,
this is kind of annoying. Like them like launching all out attacks.
Like, bro, I gotta pee, bro. Call all clear. I gotta get out of this bunker.
I mean, was there ever any danger, really? Or, I mean, like, obviously it's exciting and anything could happen, but did you guys feel as if like...
No, I mean, now that I think about it, I mean, that could be a bad thing, you know, like complacency kills. Like, if I'm sitting there playing Baseball 9, I hear bunker.
That's your final moment.
And then I hear the signal for the rocket to shoot off and hit the drone, and I'm expecting, I've heard it several times, I know it's going to hit. Like, I trust the U.S.'s technology to be able to pinpoint that drone and hit it. But, like, on the off chance that it misses, and that thing is, like, 20 meters in the sky, and it's, like, coming down.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, gosh. And then, like, I mean, I guess after that, you'd hear the thing go off. You don't hear another explosion. But then the next explosion you hear, you feel it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that one just hit.
That's crazy.
And then you just got to hope and pray that they don't have, you know, more than one drone coming after you so you can get out of there.
And so, I mean, you guys feel as if the reasons why they were throwing that at you, it was really to just kind of occupy your time and like mess up your schedules. Is that
if they really wanted to take, like, one of our biggest protections being out in Tower in Jordan as opposed to a base in Syria is the Jordanian government has been like, they don't play, like they really like the U.S. So it's like, after Iran said not to kill any Americans because they seen the 155. There's 3 people that died, bro. Like, that's 155 missiles, like not drones. Those are missiles, like ballistic missile type stuff. You know, and it's like they're blowing up your towns and your cities that are already crumbling.
Yeah,
and it's like, do not mess with them. And then eventually Iran's like, forget it. Like, once the Israel thing kind of started getting heated, Iran said we don't care if they kill anyone, but if they really wanted to, they could have like sent like 6 or 7 drones and like tried their best. Probably like if they sent like a dozen drones, it could have gotten real dirty. But, like, the drones were only like 1 or 2, maybe 3 at a time. Most of the time at Tower 22 it was just 1, and the other ones would like get launched from around the same area, and then they'd kind of fork off and like go to different locations that were close. So I mean, they have pretty impressive flight time on those drones too. Like, they can be up in the air for a little while. Like, they have time to get to wherever they want to go.
Yeah. Well, my geopolitics is not great. Who exactly is at war? Like, what is the purpose of this? Is anybody, or is this just like?
Yeah, the U.S. is. I mean, people. I'm just gonna say this and pretend like nobody's gonna say anything about the U.S. But like, I'll get to that too after this. But so I mean, Israel and Hamas have been fighting, right?
Yeah.
Hamas they're mostly Islamic, aren't they? And
Yeah.
Israel, it's a country of Jews.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously there's been that feud forever.
Mm-hmm.
And Iran is an Islamic country, and so they see that their little brother is getting stomped on by a superpower, I guess, and they don't really like any part of it. And then there's so there's those two. There's Israel, and then like the Hamas group, which is they're just a proxy group, like they're just a small terrorist group.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Iran, which is a superpower, and then you got these small groups like ISIS or like the Taliban. The Taliban wasn't a problem for us. They're mostly in Afghanistan. But like you have like ISIS it was heavy in Syria. They're into hiding now because during the Trump administration, bro, the Trump administration whacked ISIS like bad. And like we got briefed in our intel brief. They're like, yeah, you don't got to worry about ISIS. They're terrified of the U.S. And so like there is nothing going on with ISIS. But then there's a group called Hezbollah, which I believe originates out of Lebanon, which is I think north of Israel. And so like there's those guys who are getting, like, Iran's paying these guys and supplying them to send these little attacks at the Americans because it looks bad on Iran if Iran is doing these attacks, you know? So, I mean, yeah, there's just all these small little terrorist groups that are all being funded essentially by one superpower in Iran, and they're just trying to fight back against anyone who is either with Israel or on the fence about Israel.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not Islamic and you don't like either claim Islam or, you know, they're not very fond of you, I guess. So,
Right. And so then Jordan is in this camp because they're trying to, they align more with U.S. I'm assuming.
So the Jordanians did have, the base was split at some point, and then there was like a part, like on the outside of our U.S. walls, there was like a little fenced in Jordanian base.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any bunkers, so whenever there's a bunker call, like they don't speak English, so they hear the bunker calls going off, and I guess they probably have an idea of what that means, but they just run across the street into a ditch, and they just lay down in the ditch. So, I mean, during the Iran-Israel night, I imagine they're just like laying there, like looking up, like, oh my
fireworks.
Like, yeah, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just small groups that are beefing because, I mean, and U.S. is just kind of getting caught in the crossfire. And that's what I was saying was probably a little controversial because, like, why is the U.S. out there in the first place?
Well, yeah. And what's interesting is, do you guys hear a lot about the Israel-Palestine conflict when you guys are down there? Like, especially from
it was a big factor,
cultural. And walk me through what that looks like for you.
So, I mean, when we were in Saudi Arabia, to our south in Yemen, so there's Oman and then Yemen, you know, like right below Saudi Arabia, right on the sea. Yemen's been in a civil war for a while, and Yemen's government was telling the Houthi rebels, which is a terrorist group in Yemen, they're like, stop, because they were shooting drones and missiles at these shimmick like boats or whatever that the British owned in the sea as they're like on their way to go drop like a bunch of shipping containers off, you know, just for business. And they're like shooting them, and they're hitting them with these drones, they're blowing stuff up, like they're causing problems with the U.S. because we had naval ships posted outside of Gaza. And they're like shooting drones right above our naval ships, and we're shooting them down. We're like, bro, chill out.
Yeah.
And then the Yemen government was just like, they told them, like, you guys need to stop before you get our country blown up. Like, this is not good. And so the Houthi rebels posted on Twitter. I'm sure you can find it.
Crazy sentence, by the way. But
Yeah. The leader of the Houthis posted on Twitter talking about our plan with Iran is gonna come through, and you're gonna see what we're about to do. And we're just sitting there like, bro, these are also the same people who have parades with their military and show off their cool military equipment. And like, we get briefed on those too. We're like, these guys have this, and like we're sitting there making jokes like that's a one of one right there, bro. That's the only one they got, and they got it on a trailer and just rolled through the city.
It doesn't
like,
work. It just
yeah, bro.
They got a hook to a tow line and they drag it across.
Right now, bro. But yeah, we ended up bombing Yemen pretty bad, and the Houthis weren't. I mean, they're still like a little issue, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know why these terrorist groups don't see what's happened. Like ISIS got whacked. The Taliban kind of messed us up, but that was also kind of a weird thing because we were in between all these presidential things, and over the years from like the early 2000s or like the 2014, I think is when we started like trying to pull out slowly, and then Joe Biden just kind of came through and he's like, we're doing it now. But like over the years, like these groups have just been like diminished by the U.S. because like we don't seek after them. They just like we're kind of in the crossfire, and then we like even if it's one of those things where it's like we're here. The bad guys are here, and then our allies are here, and we're just kind of like looking over, like kind of seeing everything, and then like say they do something, you like stick your hand up, you're like, oh, you just hit me, like what are you doing? And then you have a reason to attack them. So it's like that's kind of how I see it. Like you're just asking for it, bro. You're like poking the bear.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know, if they thought that like we had a weak country, that's completely different than the military. Like, our military is like, yeah, we're all in the same country, we're all Americans, but our military has been structured for all these years to do exactly what we're gonna do, which is obliterate you.
yeah.
And like, we have a track record of doing that. So I mean, like, I don't get it. I don't know.
I mean that's super cool. Do you guys hear a lot from like? I mean, how often were you guys interacting with the locals? Like, I mean,
Yeah. So in Saudi Arabia, I was a part of an escort mission where I was this company in Dubai would hire poor people from India. I think it was I don't know if it's North or South India. That's the poorest part of the country. But they'd hire those guys real cheap. They worked 11 months out of the year, and they were away from their families, so they're like working for their families. And they're working really cheap too. And so that company in Dubai hires them. They fly them out to Saudi Arabia. And then I, along with the rest of the escorts, there's like civilian escorts and there's military escorts. They all do the same thing. So I got selected to go on like a detail to escort these guys. And like, I got to know them really well. I thought they were all from like the Middle East, but I guess they're from India. And they don't speak English. Like, my buddy and I were on that. And they were begging us for snacks and drinks. They're like, hey, when you go to lunch, like, can you please pick me up a Pepsi? I'm like, no, bro. Like, that's not that's not in my budget right now.
Yeah.
It's like, go back to doing your thing. But then I kind of thought about it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not inhumane. I'm going to like tell their guy. They had one guy that spoke English. He was the safety guy. And then they had a British guy who was like the project manager. So, I mean, I told him, I was like, hey, make sure these guys have a good week. And he's like, why? I was like, just tell them, like, have a good week. And so they kind of got the message, I guess. They were like waving at us, smiling, like their yellow teeth falling out. Like, they're just happy to be there. And so I didn't build a connection with any of them, but I mean, like, you could see the different way of lifestyle. Like, these guys were eating like beef and rice out of a little thing with their hands. They don't use silverware. They're wiping their butt with their left hand sometimes. Like, it's just not like, and they'll wash because we've seen them washing only their left hand. And I was like, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And like found out that like occasionally they'll just wipe it. And so like my buddy and I went out and bought like a flat of Gatorades and then like some snacks for them, whatever. And then at lunchtime we brought them all out and like started passing them around, and they were like thanking us, and it was pretty cool. And then in Jordan, there was a little cafe that they had for like, I guess it was like a morale boost. And these in-country nationals, like in Jordan and Syria especially, I don't know as much in Jordan, but those people are civilians, and they're like essentially putting their life on the line to work for the Americans. So like, there's these people that are working at this cafe, like at any moment there could be an attack, and you know, those people could not, they wouldn't be going back to their families if they didn't make it. So I mean, these people are taking a risk, and so like the guys that worked at the cafe were pretty cool. Like they had a hookah, they had a bunch of hookahs out there, so that was my first time smoking hookah, and like everything was cheap. Like, it was like $5 for a large pizza. It was the greatest, and the pizza was fire. They like cooked it on like one of those nice little ovens with like the flame or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it tasted smoky, like it was so good. And but yeah, I mean, there's civilian workers there that were Jordanian, and those guys were really cool. And then in Syria, it was kind of the same thing. Like, there was a problem with haircuts because the guys like were refusing to go to the bases because of what was going on. They're like, I'm not risking my life to go cut someone's hair. And so like, they just wouldn't go out and work. So they stayed home. But I mean, yeah, after we got back, we had probably a month left of deployment. We got back to Saudi Arabia with the rest of our company and went to a UFC fight in Riyadh. It was their first time that the UFC went to Riyadh, and I'm a huge UFC fan. And so I'm like, bro, like, this is insane. So we got a ticket to go to Riyadh for the UFC event, which is the capital of Saudi Arabia. All the people there are really cool. They're not like, there's nothing really shady going on there. Like, their government is pretty established. They're like extremely wealthy and all those things. So, I mean, the people were cool. There was a lot of people from Great Britain that were there, and there was a lot of people from Australia that night because one of the fighters was on the main card was Australian. So they had some Aussies behind us sitting there, and they're like, come on, Whittaker, come on, take him out. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was pretty fun.
Dude, it's crazy the perspective on culture you're getting from going into the military, when I feel like most people like their perspective is very, if you are in the military, you're so anti like perceptive of culture. And so the fact that you're going out here and you're surrounded by like a bunch of different people, that's just so crazy.
You're
to
just
me.
like this one white guy and amidst like these white, beautiful cave, like the, what are they called? Hijab or burqa or whatever they wear.
Yeah.
With like the hats, and you're just like one white guy with a long sleeve shirt on that says like Nike.
That says I am American, I am a soldier here.
I am a soldier in Saudi Arabia. Like that's what it said. But yeah, I mean, it was just really cool. Like I got to see some really poor parts of the world. I got to see some very wealthy parts of the world. Like, I don't know, it was just cool. In the capital of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, their streets, that like the highways and roads have no lines of like like there's a median with like trees and mulch or whatever that separate the two lanes or whatever, but like there's no like traffic lanes in any, and then like nobody obeys the speed limit, so like you are probably 7 or 8 cars deep in this like 4-lane highway and you're just like flying at like 80 miles an hour down it, and you're like whipping through traffic, like you're just tearing it up, and it was, oh dude, it was so fun.
That besides your perspectives on how exciting it was and how fun it was and how cool these things are, from like a perspective, what are your views on the Middle East? Like when you look at it, you like,
okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna get at. So with the whole America being in the crossfire type thing, I think, now this is just my opinion, and I think that for the U.S. to be there is like necessary. If we were to if we didn't support some of these countries that we were supporting, they would crumble. Like it, just like that too. Like there's a group of like these drug smugglers and like not warlords, but like these just war-torn drug smuggler guys who just want problems, are trying to get drugs into Jordan, and Jordan is like putting a heavy fist down saying no, and like we're not really helping them with it. But if they had to deal with those guys, like those guys are eating up a lot of their time, like trying to like either kill them or get them imprisoned. And so, I mean, there's people migrating from Syria all the time and or trying to into Jordan. And Jordan's like, they want to be a clean country. They want like a respectable country. So, I mean, if they're like, the way I kind of felt out there was like, if we didn't have the structure and like the integrity in this country with the U.S. here, like, I don't know, maybe they would do good, but I just feel like it would just, I don't want to see what would happen. Like, if we left Syria completely and all these little proxy groups are just absolutely tormenting the people. Like,
what do you think the argument against that is? Are people who are super against military intervention, is it more like it costs too much money? Is it like it's unnecessary, or like we're kind of moral grandstanding? Like what is it?
We're like, I've heard that argument where it's like there's a lot of money going into this stuff. And then like it's just like these people, they say we're invading these people's homes, and like I get it, like, but at the same time you gotta, like, I've watched so many documentaries and like stuff about Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's like, if I was to be, when they first got to Iraq, say, right, they like the first people to go into the first city, and you're walking through the city and all you've heard is bad things. So yeah, part of it's the media. They're kind of like, it's like puppet strings, you know, like these people know this is the fact and they've heard this about the U.S. and we know that this is a fact and we've heard this about them. So, I mean, you're going, like, you're in a truck or you're on foot. Make it even worse. You're on foot walking through a city you've never been in, and all you hear is Saddam Hussein is, like, capturing people, raping women, killing pregnant ladies, like, hanging people just because they did this. And it's like, yeah, bro, I want my gun right here. Like, I want it here. Like, yeah, it's sad to see that kids have to see this stuff. But at the same time, it's like, there's bad people in the world, and if like the government is saying we're like, I feel like it's different when the government says we're sending troops here rather than you saying I'm going here, and like say you know me and I'm say it's 2004 or whatever and I'm going to Iraq, and you hear the government say you're not on the side of the government sending troops, but then I talk to you and I'm like, you know that I'm a morally good person, like I'm not gonna go and slaughter a child just because I kind of want to, like I'm not a psychopath. And yeah, there have been people like that in the military, but they're not, like, look where they are now. Like, just do your research. But it's like, I don't know, when the U.S. government says they're sending troops, people think of just like this mean bully going in and just walking all over someone. And yeah, like I get it. It's like the little thing of like imperialism, I guess. Like I don't know. But when you have these young kids who are just scared shitless walking around and all they have is a gun, anyone with a bomb strapped to their chest could just walk up to them and then they're not going to see their families ever again. So it's like there's a really high risk, especially with the unknown. That's what I admire most about those guys that went over, is like it was just the fear of the unknown. Like but what they do know is a bunch of lies getting told to them, you know, about how bad these people are, And it's not the people that are bad. It's the terrorist groups that are trying to spread terror. Like that's the whole, it's in the name.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of a slippery slope, I guess. I like to keep my thinking a little caveman. Like, like I'm a good guy. If I go over there, am I all of a sudden a murdering rapist? Like I'm not gonna kill anybody because they like don't deserve it. Like I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna do my job, which I'm gonna be told what I'm supposed to do. And yeah, hopefully I don't have to make any hard calls where it's like this person's walking this way and I told them to stop 16 times. Am I gonna shoot them? Like I have the authority to shoot them. I told them to stop 16 times and their hand is in a bag or whatever, like you don't know what that person's doing. But yeah, it's a real personal thing, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's all about who you are and it's not as much about who sent you, if that makes sense. Like as a human being, can you see that these are other human beings who were born in a different part of the world, had different views of you, and maybe they don't like you, but you can take a little bit of spit. If you're like walking through and someone's spitting on you, like, that's not anything crazy. Like you don't have to like let your nuts hang and like point your gun at him, bro. Like that's just a guy who's a mechanic and he's got 2 kids. Like he's not a bad guy. He's just heard a lot of bad things about you. That's kind of how I feel about it.
And then I know that you guys were kind of like the A team of platoons down there, but do you feel like you made a difference? Like you did a lot of good stuff down there. I mean, did you feel like it wasn't effective?
Yeah, we asked that question a lot. We're like, what are we doing right now?
Are you guys? We just here?
Like I think we did, like, especially in Jordan. We did a lot in Jordan, like, to improve the efficiency of the base. I don't know if I can talk about the projects. I probably won't, but, like, the projects we did were, like, they were not, I guess you could say they were necessary. Like, they were necessary projects that needed to be done. As far as, like, Saudi Arabia goes, like, we built, like, these little shacks that the infantry would sit in and, like, pull guard so that they didn't have to pull guard from some, like, rundown shack. We built, like, concrete ones. So, I mean, I guess we built that for their, like their well-being, I guess. Like they can sit in a nice AC'd room. Like that's cool. But like at the same time, you look at those are 2 different bases. This base, the outer walls is a bunch of sand barriers that are like, you can drive a truck through. And this base is like a base inside of a base, inside of a base, inside of a base. And all in between each one of those little circles that spiral in, there's air defenses and foot troops and there's all this protection inside of a country that admires the way the U.S. lives. Like it's just 2 different like bases. So I mean, I think we did make a difference. We didn't go over there and solve world hunger, all that kind of stuff. But for the 10 months we were over there, I feel like a majority, like I'd say 98% of my time was not wasted doing something stupid that I was never gonna talk about ever again. Like, yeah, that's just how I felt.
Damn, dude. I mean, that whole thing is just so crazy. It feels like a movie when you talk to me about it. And I found even that your dialect when you're talking about these things is very, at very least geographic, but also like historical. Like just some of the stuff you were saying, I was like, Jesus. Like you were like, yeah, it's kind of like east of this place, and it's like, okay, well, back in like 1994 when we were, I was like, damn. I was like, Jesus.
A little history.
Yeah, I was like, that was so cool. I just wasn't prepared for that at all. And it's good to know that you didn't have, and maybe this would have been awesome, but it was cool to know that you didn't have any like life altering.
Yeah.
Like you
it's selfish to think that I wish that would have happened to me. Like because then other people's lives are at risk and. You would, what am I going to do? Come home and tell a story about my best friend dying and be proud of that? Like,
right.
No, I do not. So, at the end of the day, I don't want that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're not coming back to this. And instead, it was just like, hey, I had this like insanely cool cultural perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, the kind of cultural perspective that white girls are begging for when they like study abroad to Egypt.
Yeah,
they're like, this is gonna be so cool. You know what I mean? And then
they just go to the richest part of Egypt.
Yeah, and you like dwarf them because they post on Instagram and you were like out there like dodging missiles, which is just so crazy to me.
It is wild.
I wanted to ask about it kind of switching gears a little bit into your perspective of like fitness, triumph, and like working on yourself. That shit sounds hard as hell. Like you're telling me this.
While you're there, you mean?
Yeah, like while you're there, and just in general. But like you're telling me this, and I'm sweating. Just imagine being like in the desert. You know what I mean? And then like getting 5 hours of sleep, and then working on concrete for 10 hours, and then going to the gym. I mean, how do you do this? I mean,
I don't think you have to be a superhero to do it. I mean, like you don't have to be some super soldier. I'm like just some guy who like I have a very strong mindset, I have even before I left. So, I mean, like, I don't think, like, gym was priority just because for me, it helps keep me kind of calm, like, and I'm in there and I feel almost like melodic or like poetic doing like in the gym. And so it's like at the end of a long day, if you can go in there and like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like if you can go in there and at least like get a good workout in, like you just kind of, you get done and you feel accomplished. And it's no different in Tower 22 as it was at PSAB in Saudi Arabia. It's the same euphoric feeling after a workout, regardless of where you're at or what's going on. Like, if I didn't have, like, I'm not going to say if I didn't have the gym, I'd go crazy. Yeah. But, like, the gym was definitely nice. Like, I don't know. I try to prioritize that for the sake of, like, my mental health almost.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to go crazy if I don't have the gym, but it's really nice to have the gym and be able to just, like, it's just another form of discipline that you can, put into your life.
Yeah, other than knowing that there's a good feeling after working out, what were some of those mindsets that, like, you're tired as balls, you're laying there and you're like, time to go work out. Like, what got you past that threshold?
There was a lot of those.
Like, yeah, what
mindsets? Bro?
Yeah, like what mindsets, or like what helped you kind of think like,
okay, so
let's go.
It's pretty simple. It could be different for anyone. We get done. I'd go into my room, take my boots off, and I'd lay there in my bed. And I'm like, okay, I got to go crush like an hour workout at least. And I'm like laying there. I'm like, okay, it's already at dinner. I'm gonna let this set a little bit. I was like, if I go to the gym now, am I going to be regretting it in the morning? Like, am I going to be like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have gone to the gym?
Yeah.
So I'm laying there, I'm like, no. So then I go to the gym. Even if it's a bad lift, I'll get done. I'll go to sleep, wake up, and I'll be like, cool. And if I go to the gym, go to sleep, wake up to a bunker call, go check in, come back and sleep, it's the same. Like, it's all the same. Like, I wasn't losing anything from going to the gym, basically. And there's people in the gym too. Like, there's a small base. So like the people you see in there, you talk to, because you're all going through the same thing. You can all relate to each other. And there's like that sense of like camaraderie that's it's just another place you can get that, which is in the gym. So, I mean, it's not like now I go to Legacy Fitness in Ankeny. I don't know any of those people. So I can't like sit there and talk to them. This guy, like, I could have the guy talking to me at Tower 22 about where he was when that last bunker call hit and how he like slipped and ate shit on like in some random trench that's in the ground. Like, it's just like stuff like that. And then it gives you a little boost of like morale. You're like, okay, this isn't that bad. And then like, especially you see the base commander that ran that base, he's in the gym every day. So it's like, bro, I'm not gonna let this 45-year-old man outwork me right now. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Is there a sense of work in that too? Like, I know for me, one of the reasons why I enjoy like working out in general is it makes me feel as if I've earned the day or you know, subsequently the week or whatever.
Yep.
And it's nice to know that I was productive, like I did something. And there's kind of like this really great feeling of doing something that kind of sucked. You know what I mean? Like, this like felt good to like work through. And I imagine that to top off, you know, a 10-hour day.
Release.
Yeah, a 10-hour day, like that feeling after the gym when you laid there, you're like, damn.
You're like, now I can finally call it a day.
Yeah, you're like, I earned that shit today.
Yeah.
And like, I earned that sleep.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like you earn, like we were doing really good work. It's like we would do this crazy cool project that we got some like good progress on. And at the end, like to top that off, I get to go to the gym. And it's like, okay, well now I don't know. We were making jokes about how like all those muscles isn't going to stop a drone and like all this other stuff. But it was like, that's what kind of made it fun. Cause it's like, what if it did?
Yeah, yeah. What if I was built different?
Yeah, what if I had to carry someone because they fell and the drone hit right where they were, but I'm 100 meters this way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saved
Would I
that
be
guy.
bulky enough to just take the
Just
force?
catch
Yeah,
drone.
just like this. Yeah, that'd be crazy too. What were you eating out there?
The food in Saudi Arabia was trash, but it was good. Like, it was good food. It was just bad quality. So it was like a good amount of food, just bad quality. And then in Jordan was better quality, but kind of like not like, it's like medium amount of food, like a medium amount of like a decent portion. But they had these chicken shawarmas that they made. They love chicken shawarmas out in the Middle East. And those things were baller, dude. I think it was every Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday, they'd have shawarmas on like this hot, it was like a grill, like a flat top. They'd like make them and then they'd set them to the side and then they'd like put them on your plate or whatever if you wanted one. I always got 2 of them.
Dang,
and
dude.
they had a hot sauce called Texas Pete, and I'd get the black label, which is the hottest one. And like because none of the food really like tastes like much at all. It's not really seasoned. But that Texas Pete, man, you don't need to taste anything if you got that hotness in your
You're
mouth.
a menace, bro.
I'm like, well, I ain't got no seasoning. I got Texas Pete.
in the middle of the desert eating the hottest sauce, and then after a 10-hour day, and then going to the gym to top it off. You're actually a psychopath, dude.
It was awesome.
And you top it all off with some Clash of Clans at night. Like,
For real, bro. We were getting mad at each other because we were all in the same clan. So we're like, bro, we're in the middle of war. We got 30 minutes left. We're on the other side of the world. Of course, like, they're not going to be up right now. We got to attack. Like, we got to go. We're tied right now.
Bro, this strategy never stops, bro. The ex-military clan leader is so real, dude. That's so wild. I think what's really interesting, and I really want to talk about fitness with you. I've been tracking my calories for the last 4 months, and when I started, kind of last semester, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like do a heavy bulk. You know, it's like I'm gonna gain some weight. I'm gonna like figure this out. And that's when I started tracking. I found out I was not eating nearly enough to bulk. Like, and that's why I was gaining weight so slowly, because I just wasn't eating enough, and I was burning a lot. And so then I bulked really well, and then I started cutting this summer. And so now I'm back, and I wanted to get, I guess, just some like advice when it comes to like fitness. And then to kind of transition this, I want to hear about the hot take that you had, which was about just like the responsibility you take in being obese, and then when it just comes with being like overweight. And I guess just like walk me through that and walk me through what that means to you.
Okay, so for fitness, I mean, before I left, I was tracking my calories and like even down to like my macros, like how many grams of fat, carbs, and protein I was taking in. I kind of threw that out the window. I was like, bro, I'm 20 years old, bro. I'm going to eat whatever I want, and then I'm going to work it off if I have to.
Yeah.
But overseas, there was always a dessert section. Like, they loved giving the U.S. some dessert. And so it was like, I don't know, it was like if you were to eat, in my head, I was just thinking like, okay, my lunch was kind of fatty. So for dinner, I'm going to try to, like, even if it tastes bad, I'm going to have to eat a little bit more clean and get a little bit more protein. And maybe like a bunch of carbs. So I'll like carb load for dinner and get a bunch of protein in. And then, like, you kind of think about it, like, leading up to the gym. Like, this is such a weird way to think about it. Like, this is how my mind works. So I'm like, okay, I kind of, like, estimated how much I was consuming. And then I already kind of had an idea, because before I left, I tracked, like, how much I like, on average, I burn in the gym and throughout, like, my day-to-day. So I kind of had that number. I have no idea what it is now. But I'd go into the gym with that idea. I'm like, okay, I probably consumed around, like, however many thousand grams or calories or whatever. And so I'll go in the gym, I'll work out normal, and I'm like, okay, well, I probably just burned X amount. So if I stay on this, this steady like diet of like just kind of guesstimating that I'll put on some weight. And it worked. I got up to like 187, and then we moved to Jordan, and I kind of dropped down to like 170 something. And because the portions just weren't as big and you couldn't really do much. But then, now that I'm back, I'm definitely going to be looking a little bit more into it. The biggest thing for me is, like, obviously, it's like I think about it as calories in versus calories out. So, like, if you were to like dirty bulk and just eat like the dirtiest you can, but you still have to eat a lot of it. Like 1,000 calories of Skittles is, and you're on like what was the analogy I heard? Ooh, come on, I had it. So it's like you have, let's say, oh my gosh, it was basically like a really bad food versus a really good food, right? So if you're eating more of the good food, you're gonna put on weight and get fat if there's if you're not putting in the work. But if you're eating less of the good food, you're gonna lose weight, but you're just not gonna have that nutrients inside your body. So like you're just gonna lose weight and gain weight depending on how many calories you take in. So I mean, that's kind of how I think about it. Like I said, I got like a caveman way of thinking. Like I'm like, this burger, 1,400. Eat it, and go to the gym, be like, that was about 900 calories I just burned. Yeah. But like, as long as you're going hard in the gym too, like that's the gym is like, they say you get abs in the kitchen, you know. But like in the gym, I just feel like I'm in a laboratory. Like I'm just going like so hard.
Working that stuff out.
I'm pretty sure like I'm probably doing things all wrong because I've been doing this for like the past like 2 months. I've just been like training until like failure, and I'm just barbaric with it. And I'm like
just chucking weights
and
around.
there's no structure to it. I'm like this because that's what I was doing in Jordan. I'm like, this feels good, like because some days you're like, okay, well I can't occupy my time doing this and trying to like focus as much. But my mind muscle connection got really good because I had to limit what I was doing. So I'm like doing curls. I'm really focusing on like the contraction, like the eccentric and decentric and like all that kind of stuff. So like I'm just like going until I'm just burning real good. And then like there's just no structure behind it really. Like some days I'll go in and be like, all right, this is going to be 8 to 10 reps for about 4 sets. It's supposed to be a little heavy. So if you get to 10, you can do more. Then you got to go way up in weight.
Yeah.
Like you want to fail first set or like at 10. The second set, maybe hit 7, and then the third set, like 6 or 7 if you're lucky, and then like, you know, just like that's how I think about it. But I mean, I got now that I think about it, I gotta get back into that and like really figure out what I'm doing.
Well, no, I mean everything you said, I super agree with, and and that's what I'm saying. I think the reason why I talked about counting calories is because I think, and this is a broader problem, but I think people overcomplicate what it takes to get fit, and that allows them to just make no decision.
And then they get caught up in it too. Like you just get caught up in everything, and you're like, this is too much for me. I can't do this. Like,
well, yeah, and it's like they're trying to do all these things at once, and they're like, I'm gonna cut all carbs, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's like that is so much harder than just eat whatever you want, but track how much that is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Have some discipline with the fork.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like, don't take out the crappy food that you want to eat. Like, how do you think you're just gonna do that? You know what I mean? And so they overcomplicate these things, and then with like working out, they're like, well, if I don't know how to work out, then I'm not gonna do it because I don't even know what the words eccentric and decentric mean. You know what I mean? And so it's like, no, just go in there and throw around the muscles you want to look big, and like start there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but you think about it. There's 2 different websites. One's called YouTube, and the other one's called Google. And you get on there and you ask a question.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I think the problem is that even when you go on YouTube, everyone's trying to, because nutrition and fitness are the most marketable, like money grabbing things that you can talk about. And there's not a lot of people, like I think Sam Sulek did just like, I mean, crashed the way people talk about this because he was just so binary. He's like, if you eat more than you should, you will gain weight.
That's who I got that analogy from.
Whether it's chicken and broccoli, you're gonna gain weight. Yeah. If you eat 2,000 calories of Dr. Pepper, if you just drink Dr. Pepper or 2,000 calories, you will lose weight. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's actually just that simple.
It is.
And the problem is that people looking and they're like, well, I need to start this diet that's gonna make me hate my life, and then I'm gonna like work out and I'm gonna pump super hard, and I'm going to like be in a 2,000 calorie deficit so that, and it's like, dude, stop.
Like there goes your energy, bro. Like, if you cut out your carbs and you're like consuming 0 carbs, you're just like, you're gonna be groggy. Like your body's not gonna have the natural energy. Like you can't just substitute some carbs with an energy drink. Like there's no nutrients in an energy drink for your body to just like break down and, you know, put towards your progress. Like eat some carbs. Don't eat 16 slices of bread.
Yeah.
Have like some rice and maybe in the morning, you know, 2 pieces of toast or something like that, you know?
Well, and it's like, one of the interesting things that I heard about this, and I found this fascinating. I wanted to see what you thought about this. That sentiment of calories in, calories out, and boiling it down to that, I don't think that's gonna work with like 40-50% of people. Because the problem I think is a little bit more complicated than that. Because I feel like there's a lot of people who overcomplicate things. They need to hear that. Like the people who think they know what's happening, but they're still like tubbier than they want to be. Yeah. They need to hear just calories in and out. Yeah. But like the obese people or like who have really bad like chronic eating, you know what I mean? And they've been eating like garbage forever and they've never touched a gym. They've always thought that like the weight was fine. Yeah. Those people, you can't really just tell them calories in and out.
They got other problems.
Yeah, because there's so much more.
If you're content with being that big and like... like I love those people, but it's so bad.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on that hot take. Like, kind of elaborate what you mean.
With the being obese, like your obesity is a direct reflection of like your work ethic almost.
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't know. There could be a successful business person, you know, like that's 300 pounds, like cool, but then. Do you really want to be 300 pounds, like walking around, bro? Like taking two seats wherever you're going, you know? Like maybe it's just like they're just content with it, but I can't see like an average human being content with that kind of stuff. Like I think if it's like for the people that it's a direct reflection for, it's like I'm not in the best shape ever, but I also have a really good head on me, and I'm trying to like you know get better every day. But like I don't know, it's just I don't know. I just like it's just so strange. Like I think it comes down to being content with it. Like I don't understand. And that's part of laziness, you know. Like you're content with going every morning. You're making $150,000 a year. Every morning your schedule is go to McDonald's, grab this meal for lunch. You're going to this fast food restaurant for dinner. You're coming home eating this fat meal with your family, and the gym or anything in there. You go to a desk job and you're sitting down all day. You're not doing anything. Like it's just I can't see how that's an exciting way to live. Like at all. Like I just don't, it's convenient. Like you can, dude, it's so convenient to go to a drive-through Like, bro, you don't do anything.
Yeah.
You say a number, bro.
Yeah.
You don't even have to say, hey, good morning. You just say,
And now you just do it on your and now you just do it on your app. You know, you just like you come in and they just hand it to you.
Like, what, bro? It's just insane, bro. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we talked about in the last episode, and I think you touched on this too, the idea that comfortability is the enemy of like progress.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like you kind of hit it when it's a reflection of who you are. Like, I feel like it really does exemplify this desire to be comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
or more so this like fear of being uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then so I think I don't know. It says a lot about you don't want to take control over what makes you comfortable, what makes you uncomfortable. Instead, you're just going to let the environment decide when am I going to be uncomfortable.
Which is lazy.
Yeah,
Oh, that is
and a
so
lot of
lazy.
people, they'll say like, when I tell them that, I'll say comfortability, you know, and then they're overweight, they'll be like, I'm uncomfortable all the time. And it's like, maybe, but you're never choosing to be uncomfortable.
That's when it matters the most.
Yeah, it's like the environment is just making you uncomfortable. You have no choice in that.
Okay, so if they're always uncomfortable, there's always that what if, bro. Like, if you're always uncomfortable, what if being in the gym on the treadmill, walking on an incline is comfortable to you? Like, what if you find peace in that?
Yeah.
And then you get addicted to it, and you're like, okay, maybe I'll turn up the speed, and you start going a little faster. And then you're like, okay, I'm 285 pounds, I can't run, but I can walk. So then you start walking outside to get some sunlight, and then you shed a few pounds, and then you're like, okay, my knees don't hurt when I walk anymore. I've built that strength around my knees. My feet don't hurt when I walk anymore. And then you can start elevating your progress to running. And if you think that running is too high impact for you right now, you can hop on the bike, or you can sit there and, you know, like just do these workouts that you're not training to be a power lifter or a bodybuilder. You're training to lose weight and be there for your children, so that your kids don't have to, you know, always kind of like hear mom or dad huffing and puffing when they come up to like show them something in their room or whatever, you know, like it's just, I don't know.
Dude, I feel like, and it feels so fat to say this. I feel like diet culture has ruined all nutritional conversations. I just feel like the whole idea of what a diet is so awful, because it's just like the term diet is like, I'm going to get this way in 3 months or 4 months, which is just like, no, you need to be a whole new person for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? There's no diet. It's you are now a different person. That's the only option.
Yeah.
And I say this to a lot of people when I talk about like, whether it be like tracking calories or working out or like eating better or whatever the thing is like, whatever change you make, it better be a lifelong decision. If you can't see yourself when you're 60 doing what you're doing now, you're doing too much or too little. So like, do something that's going to last forever, because this term of diet I just feel is so awful.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew, you know. You don't want to set yourself up for this crazy like workout routine and maintain that. Like, it's just like if you were to start doing something that's really heavy and you set it up, like I do this all the time to myself. Like, it's probably not a good thing, but one of these times it's gonna hit and it's gonna work out. But like, I'll set like this crazy thing for me, like this crazy schedule or whatever it is. That's like, it doesn't even seem like it's gonna happen at all. And maybe I'll do it for 3 or 4 days, but then longevity wise, like it's not happening for this long period of time. You know, like it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You want to like. You have to humble yourself. That's my biggest problem is like humbling myself and saying, maybe I should take it a little, but like even saying that just irks me. Like,
I know.
I don't want to take it slow, bro. I'm trying to go like just woo.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I think the problem is like the people who I look like you, you know what I mean, aren't
okay,
like,
thank you.
They're not struggling with going not hard enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, you're going to have a different problem than like the obese people that you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think kind of hurts your credibility and your validity when you're talking about these things, because you're not dealing with any of the problems that obese people are.
Yeah.
And that's why I really like your take, because it points at something that's really true. But I feel like you have to have the arsenal to back that up. Like you have to be like, do this, 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 and this. And you need to know that they struggle with this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just a different ball game.
I guess if I was to be a trainer and somebody came to me asking for help, or maybe I even reached out to them and they're like, yeah, but you don't know what I'm struggling with right now. And like, you have to have obviously a certain element of sympathy for them and be like, and like not bring yourself down to their level, but like be able to think, okay, yeah, I'm not this big. I like daily tasks that like getting out of bed and walking over somewhere is not hard for me. It could be for them, but like I think my problem is if I was to talk to someone like that, like I'd have sympathy. Obviously, I'd feel bad for him. But like I have this mentality that a lot of like young men have, where it's like, forget the excuses, just do it. Like quit complaining. And a lot of people don't have that. Like they don't have that will within them to be like, maybe like if I just bite my tongue and maybe this guy's right, maybe I'll put my pride to the side and I'll listen to this guy. Like that's, I don't know, maybe a problem comes from that. I know me personally, that's where it comes from. If I'm talking to like even one of my buddies like who's in shape and I'm like, you got to do this, bro. And he's just like, he'll tell me whatever, right? Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think in my head, you got to put your pride to the side and stop doing things your way because they're not working. They haven't worked for 30 years or however old you are. They have not worked for that like at all. And we're not the same person, obviously, but once you start kind of going and you get this rhythm, now the person helping you can see what you do good in and what you do bad in. So they're not dumb. They're not going to make you do the same thing over and over again for a year and a half. Like they're going to, like everyone adjusts and you got to be fluent like water. So
yeah,
that's what I think about that.
Yeah, I think the balance is really difficult when it comes to like giving them that push that's like, be better, work harder, you suck.
Yeah.
So like how much do I do that? And then how much do I be like, okay, like I know you're struggling, like that's okay. Here's what you're struggling with. Now buck up and do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think it takes that balance, but I think
it's different for everyone too. Yeah.
Yeah. I think talking about nutrition, like if I were to say calories in and out and I were to say that to like an obese person, I feel like it would take so much for them to simplify. Like they wouldn't be able to do it that simple. You know what I mean? Like just eating less, I feel like would be so much more difficult in different ways because they have such a sugar addiction that like it's hard. You know what I mean? So you'd have to do it in like slower steps. Like instead of sugar, eat bread instead. That has a ton of natural sugar.
There's all sorts of like I seen a graph the other day. It was like it was all these candies and it was like natural foods that are gonna give you the same amount of whatever you're addicted to and like but it's just gonna be a little bit different. Mm-hmm. It's like it's like you're eating like I don't really think protein pancakes are all that good. I feel like they're still kind of bad for you.
Yeah.
But like if you were to eat like normal pancakes that taste really good and protein pancakes, there's a difference in the flavor. But I mean, you're getting 30 grams of protein in these pancakes. Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of like that same thing. Yeah, like the substitute. You want the substitute to be perfect, but it won't be. It's like always going to be a little bit worse. But then you just kind of get used to it, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah, and then it becomes easier. But I think the conversation online just every time I see like this dumbass TikTok ad, and then it'll say something like, eating less carbs doesn't burn fat. And it's like all these things. It's like, but my product burns. I hate that, dude.
Insane.
It's like, no, just eat less. Like you're
just taking advantage of dumb people or someone who actually wants to make progression in their journey. Like they want to start and they're like, they see this. Now they're spending $300 every 2 weeks on something. And you're like, you didn't have to do all that, bro. Like,
here's what I can promise to every person who's watching this video right now. Any ad that says anything other than eat less calories is lying to you. Like it's not about a workout. It's not about a specific kind of food, like a specific kind of macro or micro thing. No vitamin, no medication. No, just eat less. Like that's the only thing. Or eat as much as you are and work out more so that you burn the calories that you're eating.
Yeah.
That's fine too. Eat less than your maintenance. That's it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's so frustrating.
Yeah, there's that average calorie count that you burn every day, and you just don't want to, if you want to lose weight, go below that. If you want to gain weight, go above it.
Yeah, and then for specifics, if you're looking at it, you have like your maintenance. Mm-hmm. If you eat 500 less than your maintenance every single day, you will lose 1 pound a week. That is science.
Yeah, that's the math behind it.
Yeah, that is just science. Now, there's going to be some variation. Like your first month, you're probably going to lose more than 1 pound a week if it's a totally different way of eating for you. And then you're probably going to plateau for a couple weeks, but keep going. You will. But if you eat less than that, then you run into issues of going into starvation mode, and then you'll end up not being able to eat as much as you normally. That's all bad too. But 500 less, and then same with the bulk. 500 plus is going to gain you 1 pound a week as well.
And then if you are really strict, like if you want to achieve this crazy physique, and you think, okay, I'm going to bulk up to this weight, but I want it to be a clean bulk. Those 500 extra calories that you're putting on like matter, especially when it's that small of a window. If you're eating only 500 more and you want to gain 1 pound a week, those calories like it would behoove you to consume as much of that worth of calories of protein as you can.
Yeah.
Like if you want to put on some lean mass, like it's just going to be beneficial to do some like proteins or something like that. You know, it's like, and if you're losing weight and you're missing out on 500 calories, you want to replace what you're missing with 500 calories worth of something that's going to give you natural energy and that like strength factor, like within the diet, because you're losing 500 calories every day. So I mean,
Yeah, you're gonna be hungry. You're gonna be like tired.
And you're gonna be
low
especially
energy.
the first week or two. It's gonna be.
Okay, how do you feel about this take? So, my opinion.
Dude, no way.
My opinion is that if you could only do one thing to change your body, only one thing, I would say it would be to track your calories. I wouldn't say you don't have to go to the gym, you don't have to eat healthier, you don't even necessarily have to eat less or eat more. Just track how much you eat accurately and honestly, and the rest will come. Because it's like, if I'm gonna go on a cut, like I wanna lose weight, and I track my calories and I'm being honest about it, I will visually see where I'm eating too much, where I'm eating less. And then as I try to eat less, I will discover, dang, 800 calories of cookie dough, not worth it today. I am starving still, and I've eaten all my calories.
Yeah.
And you'll learn those things like, I should probably eat something that's going to make me feel more full, like chicken or
fulfilling,
rice.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you'll be able to make those decisions. It will decide the diet for you if you can just track. And then the same as it is for bulking as well.
Yeah.
And then furthermore, if you want to decide where that weight goes on, then you work out. You know what I mean? But like, you will lose weight if you eat less. So if you want to,
for me, in my opinion, since I just got to make everything difficult, I'd say it would be that same thing. But then what if in my head, I'd be thinking, okay, well, what can my new, like if I'm transforming my body, what if this transformation like process, say I do it for a month and it's working pretty well. I'm not like I'm losing weight. I'm not tired every day. Like I wake up, I'm ready to go. Like I want to get stuff done. But what if I have this thought in my head where it's like, why can't this and this go hand in hand, AKA the gym? So like, what if, like what could I become as a man? What could I become as a man if I just found this out and I paired them? So like, what if, in my head, I'd be like, what do they go hand in hand? And next thing you know, you're like doing this, but also you're just getting shredded. And it's like, it's not like a fast track to go to the gym, like, and while you're on a deficit like that. But I mean, you'll definitely like, you'll wake up with soreness, but then there's that feeling, like, then it just becomes like a mental thing. You get that dopamine release, and it's like that. There's this natural thing when in your brain. Andrew Huberman talked about it. It's when you do something that you really do not want to do, and you do it. There's this chemical that releases in your brain it's good for you, and it like boosts how you feel. Like it's not. I don't think it's dopamine. It's something else. But like, it's like, that's like a thing, like backed by science. If you do something you don't want to do, you're going to reap the benefits of that, like in your mental health. Like, yeah, that's how I feel about that.
well, yeah. And I think that's super true too. I think, I guess like the general point is that the gym is secondary to like the kitchen and your diet.
Yep.
And that like, you'll earn a lot more by eating your calories. And the gym is super OP too, because like for all the fatties out there, the gym allows you to eat more. That's so crazy.
Yeah, bro.
Because all the calories you burn at the gym, if you're still under 500, you get to eat that back.
Yeah.
So you just earned yourself 500 calories that you should eat. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to eat way under your maintenance, because then you're going to fuck up your metabolism and everything. But like, that's why like the gym is awesome. Don't get me wrong. And it allows you to decide where everything's going, but like secondary to calories.
Yeah, I agree. I heard this thing. What was it? It was Greg Doucette said it. I used to watch him act. Like, do you know who Greg Doucette is? Mm-mm. Okay, so you'll have to look him up. Bro's a character. But he was talking, and he said something about when you're doing cardio consistently throughout your week, there's like this thing in your body is like, this is the way my caveman brain thought about this. So if you're doing 15, 30 minutes of cardio every day, right? Your body's like doing it and you're feeling a little sluggish. Maybe you're tired because you don't really do cardio. It's your first time doing cardio. Your body feels the same way, and they want to drop whatever it is that's slowing you down, which would be your fat. So the more you do cardio, the more consistent you're burning fat, because your body's like, it pinpointed what it wants to get rid of. And now you're just giving it the ammo in doing cardio to just like start chopping down your fat. And then, after all these weeks of doing cardio, your heart's going to be stronger, and I guess you'd be burning more fat. I haven't fact checked that because I'm a caveman. So I mean, in my head,
It's all bro science.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm sitting there on the elliptical bike. I'm like, yeah, like whether it's a seated one like this, and I'm pedaling here, and my knees are touching like a little bit of belly fat that I have. Like I'm like, yeah, my knees are just hitting my fat, telling my body where my fat's at, so it can just come through and just chop it off.
It's just pointing it out.
Yeah,
dude.
same with like what are those called? Mountain climbers. Like my knees are hitting my belly. I'm like a little muffin
You're
top
like,
down there.
yeah.
Just beating. I'm softening it up so it can come through and just clean it.
And so you're gonna take a knife and just start hacking it away. Well,
Yeah.
see, I mean, cardio is OP too. I mean,
Yeah, cardio is not. My biggest thing with cardio is not the burning fat. It's the your health within your for your heart.
the mental I feel like is a lot harder too for cardio.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like my stepdad, his father just passed away not too long ago, but he was like a triathlon runner. Like he ran these like crazy races, so his heart is extremely healthy. His resting heart rate's really impressive, and he was on. I almost said his deathbed. That sounds really disrespectful. What's it called when you hospice?
Yeah.
He got brought to hospice. He had not a heart problem. Maybe it was a heart problem. And he was in hospice. You're not expected to live very long in hospice. I'm pretty sure he was in hospice for like a month and a half because his heart would not stop. Like his heart didn't want to give up. And I told my stepdad, I'm like, I understand your dad just died. Like, and I'm obviously I feel bad for you and everything, but like, you could say your dad is a badass. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like his heart just didn't want to quit. Like, so, and that's like, it gives me goosebumps. Like, that's just so cool to me. Like to know, like in my head, I never really met him very much, but like my memory of him now is his heart was so strong that his body couldn't shut down without his heart. It was like his heart was the last thing they had to get out of there. And his heart was like, nah, bro, I'm sitting here and I'm going to let it happen. Like, this is me.
Dude, he earned that extra like 2 months, which is crazy.
It's insane. Like that blew my mind. I'm like, I'm doing more cardio. Like, I got to get my heart right.
Yeah, I'm gonna start running now, dude. This is it. I'm running home after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know, man. That's just really crazy. I think
fires me up.
cardio is really cool because it has that mental aspect too, of like getting through it. And weightlifting has a different kind of like. I feel like weightlifting is more like pushing yourself, and then cardio was more like dealing with hard things.
Yeah, it's like dude. Like if I'm running for cardio. It's like you get that, sometimes that little voice in your head appears, like say you're running, you want to run a 5K or 10K. On like mile 2, that little voice appears and you're like, bro, I just started, bro, get out of here. And it's like, it's so convincing though. Like it's telling you all these things like you stop now, you can walk back, you can go get this and eat this and whatever. And you're like, dude, that sounds so good right now. But it's like, it takes so much mental strength to shut that voice down. And I think I've done a fairly good job at doing that.
Yeah. Well, and cardio also does a lot of things for, like you said, like your heart, and then for your head and for your body and for like the other things in your system. But I don't know, man. The overall nutrition conversation I think is just wildly too complicated for what it should be.
Yeah.
When like it could be pretty simple, and I think it does a lot for like obesity as well. And I think the conversation around obesity has chilled out a little bit. I feel like in the early, or mid 2010s, it was kind of a big thing, like, fat acceptance and all that stuff. But you don't really hear about that stuff as much
about
anymore.
Biggest Loser, bro.
Yeah.
Imagine like your mom is on, or your dad is on that. And then you go to school, you're like, bro.
Your mom you're the biggest loser, bro. Your mom.
You are the biggest loser.
Like,
you gotta go to school with knowing that your mom was on television like that.
And that show was crazy because I don't know if I haven't in fact checked this either because I'm a loser. But with that show, I think 95% of people just gained all of their weight back when they were done with the show. That's
what Greg Doucette that I talked about earlier. He talks about that a lot. Like if you bite off more than you can chew and you start going, you hammer at something, you're gonna backslide really bad. Like if you're obese and you're trying to cut calories, but you do it in the wrong way, you are going to relapse back to what you were doing. Like I don't know how that even happens. Like it's just crazy though. Like it's just I think it comes down to like being inconsistent. I guess I don't know.
Well, there's a interesting medical thing that's happening too with like kind of what I was saying with going into survival mode. I think this is super interesting. Like I'll talk to people and family members and you could just tell they have a fundamental not good understanding of like how calories work.
Yeah.
And so they'll be like, well, my maintenance is 1,500 and I'm cutting, so I'm eating 1,000 calories today.
That is crazy.
And I worked out. Yeah, that's just an example. That would be insane.
Is that a 6-year-old, bro?
It's one Kit Kat today.
Oh my
Dinner.
gosh.
But like, sorry, I'm eating 1900. My maintenance is 1900, and I'm supposed to eat, 1400
Yeah.
today to cut. And then I worked out, and I burned 300 calories. And that's really good. So now I'm 800 under today. I'm like, don't do that. That's just really bad idea.
Go to bed and wake up and see how you feel.
Yeah. It's like, let's just say nothing happened that night. Let's just say that. In 2 days, you're going to be wondering why you're exhausted and starving.
Yeah.
And you're going to, the chances of you overeating are super high. And that's unrelated to if you like pass a certain threshold, you're going to lower your metabolism to meet that, like, I'm in starvation mode. Now my maintenance is 1300 because I can't
Exactly.
afford this anymore.
Yep.
And so now when you eat 1300, you're no longer losing weight. You might even start gaining weight. You know what I mean? So that's what happens on The Biggest Losers. You have all these
Okay,
people
yeah, that makes
who are
sense.
like cutting their eating by like way too much. And
Like
then now
75%,
Yeah. And like now their maintenance is 100 calories. You
Here's
know what I mean?
$25,000. You won The Biggest Loser. They get home straight
Yeah.
to Costco, bro. They're just dumping 25 grand into a bunch
And
of
Sam's
trash
Club.
food. Yeah, bro.
Yeah. So no, actually though,
That is crazy.
and that's unrelated to the mental of. Like, I guarantee you, every single person on that show is itching to go back and just hit up a Taco Bell. Like, I just know it,
Yeah,
dude. They're gonna start a mukbang channel with that $25,000 that they just got from The Biggest
Yeah.
Loser.
And it's
So-
reality TV too, isn't it?
Yeah. So you know it's
Oh,
super
dude,
fake.
yeah, you don't know what's real and what's fake on that freaking show.
Yeah, but I feel like, again, that's like what diet culture is. They'll be like,
Yeah.
just go on the show in a month, you're gonna lose 30 pounds.
It's like in elementary or junior high, you're like, you got like prom, or you're not even prom, you're like a young kid, so you got like the school dance coming up. And you're like, I did this before, okay?
How to get abs in
Dude,
10 minutes.
30-minute abs, bud. Just look it up on YouTube. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm about to slam this workout. Tomorrow morning you wake up, you're like, oh, my gosh, like nothing happened.
There's this video of this little kid doing a crunch machine,
Yeah.
and then he just like looks up and lifts his shirt up and looks at his belly, and he's just like,
Yeah, bro.
I'm
That's,
like, poor guy.
I started hitting core a lot. That helped with my leg day. Like when
Oh, really?
my core got a lot stronger. And it's because I started doing core workouts every day. I'd probably do like, it's not crazy. It's like 15, 20 minutes worth of core. And then like, what is that a week? Like whatever, say it's like 10 minutes a day times 7. That's 70 minutes of like working out your abs.
Yeah.
And you accumulate that over the weeks, and you're going to end up having a stronger core. But like on back squat or something like that, I mean, you could tell, like, you don't need a belt. Like, I graduated the belt, dog. I graduated the belt.
Good
I don't
job,
need no
dude.
belt, son. It's just like, you have that, like, you have a natural belt in, like, around your core. Uh-huh. And then on top of that, if your core is strong, I mean, you can bear that load and have a nice stable back because your core is supporting the front half of your body. So, I mean, I found that out, and I was just bamboozled. I was like,
That's
bro.
good stuff, dude. I find that it's so hard to like isolate my core. Like my mind body connection is just not there for
Dude, just
like.
wait till it does get there.
No,
but,
I don't even know
my
what it
gosh.
is. Like right now, the one that I've been spamming core crunch machine.
Yeah.
The like one
I haven't
that
done that
like
yet. It looks pretty good.
Like you do this and then
Yeah.
you go down like you're from SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that, but even then, like it's so hard to not just like use my arms and shoulders to
Yeah.
just like bring it down.
Well, oh yeah, that does make sense.
And same with like cable crunches, like when you're on your knees,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
peasant, and then you're doing that.
Just bound down to a metal rod in front of you.
Yeah.
I don't really. I'm gonna think about that with the mind and muscle connection. I don't know how. Like, I don't want to flex or anything, but like, I just feel like so connected to my body when I'm doing a workout. Especially like shoulder day is my favorite. I have a shoulder day by itself, and maybe I'll throw triceps in there or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But like on shoulder, I think what happened was like all these reps over the time that I've been working out, I'll like experiment. It's not even over the last 10 years either, or however long I've been working out. It's over like the last 2. I'll be doing something, and if I'm like doing some type of fly, if I'm coming out here, I don't really feel a crazy burn. And then like you got to catch it kind of early in the set because you get 40 reps in and trying to figure it
Yeah.
out. You're like, oh, this right here feels really good, but you're doing it
Now your
completely
traps
wrong.
are huge. Yeah.
So it's like you just find that sweet spot where you can isolate whatever you're trying to do, and then once you find it, it's like maybe it's an angle, or maybe it's just an exercise. Maybe some exercises you just can't really. Maybe it's just too hard. Like there's this exercise with the people do it with the rope, and the thing is on the very top. So then you grab the rope overhead and you like back up, hinge at your hips down, and then you like pull. It's so awkward because like, you get to imagine a rope on your elbow and you're pulling straight through your back, but you're coming down to your hips and it's like contracting your lower back. So like there's that valley in your back like this, you know? So it's like contracting your back into this, and now like everything from like the bottom half of your back is just tight. But it's so hard to find that sweet spot. Like I was showing someone yesterday, and I'm like getting frustrated. I'm like, just do it. And they're like, they're coming down here, and then they want to do it like a tricep extension. And I'm like, no, you got to have your arms slightly bent, and you're like pulling back, like you're just pulling straight back. And it's like, but it's so hard to get there. And like that workout is way easier when you do it with a straight bar, and cause that's how I learned how to do it. But like once you kind of get the rhythm with a straight bar, you're like, okay, then we get a rope, and it's way harder with a rope because you can come past your hips if you wanted to. So I mean, it's just way more of a squeeze, and it's just more. I guess you just exert more energy. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, you're hacking the system. My body connection sucks so much. Like it's actually so bad. Like
What kind of music do you listen to in the gym?
is that what it is? I listen
Dude,
to a
it
lot
could
of
be. Hey,
I
you
listen
never
to a
know.
lot of podcasts and
Okay.
like politics, and then sometimes if I'm really feeling it, I'll like blast some yacht rock or like white old dude music or whatever. But
I had a thing like a change of heart overseas. I stopped listening to rap because it was just the messages were just horrible, and it was like I wanted to stop cussing as much and just be a better person, you know, mostly for my faith. But then I started listening to country music and worship music in the gym, and that's when I just started locking in, dude. Cold shoulder, close.
dude, that's where it is, dude. Maybe that's what I'm missing, dude.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. You try it out. The crazy thing is everyone is so different. Nobody's the same. So I mean, what works for me probably won't work for someone else. You know.
Yeah,
It's
hopefully
like,
people are blasting this in the gym right now, dude. That'd be
For real,
crazy.
bro.
If you're doing a core, if you're planking right now, you're like 30 seconds into a plank. Keep going, dude. You got this.
I'll sing the last however long you got. I'll sing some quitting time for you.
Yeah, that'll get you really juiced up. But no, dude, my mind body connection is actually so booty. I was doing
But you can control that. Like, do you understand? Like,
no, yeah, and I've gotten better.
that's
Especially
good.
like I've been trying to very actively work my lats because they were just like really underdeveloped.
Mine are bad,
and so it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
But like doing pull downs, like I really just like. And I just stopped, and I've gotten really better at it, and I've seen noticeable
it
differences.
takes the problem with it is you got to be patient. That's I'm not a very patient person. So like to be patient in the gym where I just want to be tossing weights is so hard for me. Like
Yeah.
with lat pull downs, I just started getting into those. I've been doing them kind of a closer grip. And I'm like, why are my lats not growing? So then my buddy's like, just do wider. And so I'm like coming way out here trying to do the same weight that I did here, and it's not even moving. And he's like, you got to humble yourself, bro. Like, just be patient with it. Trust the process. And I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, I just dropped 60 pounds on my lat pull down just so I can get this. And then like, but now I'm making really good progress on it. It's only been like probably 2 months. And it's like, if with back day, we talked about 2 back workouts. With back day, I always picture everything with back day as a rope, either attached to your elbows or whatever it is, and it's like just pulling you, like for lat pull downs, I picture a rope on my elbows pulling to like a knob that's sticking out of my lower back, and it's got a rope wrapped around it, and it's just like a pulley kind of system, and it's like pulling down at a V. So you're like bringing your elbows down at a V instead of like a straight back or whatever it is. So it's like I'm pulling down more of like a V formation, I guess. I don't know.
That's really.
I just make up weird stuff in my mind to help me.
That's really. Do you feel like that really helps with your mind body connect? Like, do you feel
Yes.
like you're working towards that?
It's that. Like, it helps with that specific lift, but it also helps with like if I'm doing some type of chest fly where I'm grabbing the cables down here and I'm like pulling up to here. I'm picturing I have all the more leverage I have out here against me, the more I'm gonna contract in my chest. So like if I'm here and coming up this way, I'm not gonna have any. There's no leverage against me. It's all on my side. So if I have my arms out here with a slight bend and I'm like coming up, that's where the most leverage, all the weight is right here. It's like, and then maybe a little bit on your forearm or whatever, right? But then when you're here, the weight's here and it travels down your forearm into your bicep and you're contracting your bicep as you're kind of doing whatever. But like if you have the leverage against you, and it's just a bunch of like, just kind of a lot of stuff like that. Like it's just weird stuff.
That's really interesting.
If someone was to tap into my mind while I'm in the gym, they'd be like, "This guy's talking
You're
about?"
looking like a robot in there, dude. You're like circuits
Calculations.
moving. Yeah, like you can see the lines. Well, because one of the things was with lateral raises, what I found is that I was really activating my traps.
Yeah.
And I was doing this for years, and my traps are huge.
Yeah.
Because I've never done a trap workout in my life, and it's easily my most prominent muscle for no reason. And I think it's so annoying that I just did them wrong for like so long.
Yeah.
And I've gotten better now, but it's just like one of those things where it's like it really is important that you just slow things down and you do it until you feel it when you should.
There's a lot of muscles within. I don't know anything about women's bodies and their muscle or whatever. But I know for men, like shoulders, like if you start juicing today and a month goes by, your shoulders are going to be absolutely insane because there's like receptacles or whatever it is within your shoulders, quads, and then there was one other, I don't remember where the other one is, but those are going to be the three that kind of blow up first. So like your shoulders are going to get real rounded, and it's the same thing naturally. Like if you, like I hit shoulders once a week or whatever, and I hit them really hard, but it's like a fast workout, and it's like, if you can kind of like pinpoint that spot where you just, I don't know, it's like some things are going to, what I was saying was some things are going to develop like faster with less than other things. Like if you have a weak spot, like my back is my weak spot. So I really have to go ham on my back. But then I get to my shoulders, and my shoulders, they're not a weak spot. Neither are my traps, naturally. And so, I mean, you just, like, you go hard on those muscle groups, but, like, some of them are just, they can develop way faster with less than another body group or body part.
Yeah, I hear core is like that a lot, too. If you have the, like, low body or low fat percentage to, like, allow them to, show, then those are really easy also, or really quick to get going, too.
Yeah.
But you have to have your golden mind-body connection to make it happen, I guess, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even, like, I don't even know, planking, I feel like when I do stuff like that, like, one, you can't increase, really. It's so hard to increase with planking because, what are you going to do, go plank for 10 minutes? You know what I mean? Like, so, like, you kind of have to do some sort of crunch, and then it's just a ton of variables.
One thing about the lateral raises, one thing my buddy and I did, he had kind of the same problem. And we were doing them, and I was having him show me what it looked like. I'm not a trainer or anything, but, like, it helps to have a second, or like an opinion. So I'm like sitting there watching him, and I was noticing when he like would come out, he would like shrug his shoulders up to help him like bear the load.
That's what I would do.
There it is right there.
Yeah.
And so he tried the same weight, but trying to keep the same thing as like a fly. You keep the leverage on the outside, because then all the pressure is going to be right here on your shoulder. Like you're holding this weight out here, and like even with no weight, I can feel that my delt is just solid. Not a flex, but
just a statement.
But it's like, it's like the same thing. Like if it's so small too, you can barely even notice it. Like if I was to be looking in a mirror doing them, and I was doing the shrug, I wouldn't notice it. But then you get someone else to kind of like help you out and like kind of show you what you look like or tell you what you look like. Then
I found that cable lateral raises help a lot better, because then you can really like slow it down, and you're not like. Going up,
Well, it's, when you're doing dumbbells, your body wants to kind of rock with it and like throw the weight up. And so like but then you go to a cable, it's super strict, and it's, it's restrictive. So, I mean, everything you do is one fluent motion. And then once you do that enough, you can feel comfortable to go to the dumbbells, and then you find out how glorious dumbbells are. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, you just upgraded, dude.
Yeah.
You're no longer a gym warrior here. But that's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. I started cutting, and then I ran quite a bit more, and then was pumping a bit less. But I finally hit 225 on bench, which is really cool. And then thank you. And then now I like bench. I can barely like throw up like, I don't even know, 150. Just because I cut for like 3 months and didn't really work out. But we'll get back. But it's gonna take a minute. So
yeah, I've been there. My bench is so bad. I haven't flat benched in so long. I just been doing like incline, different variations of incline bench, like dumbbells or Smith machine. I like the Smith machine incline, because you can go all the way till failure. Because all you gotta do is you fail right here. You're like, okay, don't trip.
Yeah,
like, okay, okay, I'm done.
And then people, so that is super big. I need to start doing that too, because
it's so nice.
It's so scary to just
failing
raw
sucks,
dog.
Like failing is so scary.
No, and that's another big thing that I did when I started bulking, was like making sure that I was comfortable with failing, because I found out that I had been working out for a couple of years now and barely ever reached close to failure. You know what I mean? And that's something, it's like horrifying, and it's really uncomfortable. Like you think working out is intuitively uncomfortable, and that's pretty true, especially, but once you've worked out for a couple years, like that just becomes comfortable. Like it's not really that uncomfortable to go and just throw weights around. But failing, that rocks
it's like
every time.
Bro, it's like being tickled and you like can't move, bro.
Yeah.
It's like you just like start tweaking. You're like, ugh.
Yeah. No, actually, dude, failure.
Yeah, dude.
Failure, that's overpowered, dude. Failure is actually crazy, dude.
Oh
No,
my
but
gosh.
yeah, getting past that initial uncomfortability of failure was bad.
Yeah.
But we've been yapping for almost 2 hours now, so
That's good.
this was awesome, dude. But Zach, I like to give you this opportunity to leave a final message and just talk about anything we talked about in this episode, and just leave viewers with what they want to know.
What did Jordan Belfort say? He said, "I've been a poor man and I've been a rich man." I ended on that. That's a little silly, but yeah, it was nice to come back out here in the beautiful town of Ames with Elijah again. It's nice to see you after about a year. It's nice to be on here. I feel more comfortable. I have to pee so bad right now. I've been like
Dude,
rocking side to side.
My butt is sweating so bad.
But I mean, it was good. It was nice to come in here and have a conversation. Like before, I feel like I was kind of yapping about like, it was just like I was in my Andrew Tate era, like all the other young men. You're just like saying the most crazy stuff. But like now I have like a bunch of different views on stuff, and yeah, I feel more put together. I feel more grown. And at the time that I came in here last time, I felt pretty grown. And it's just crazy to think that you can just keep growing as a human being. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. It's just the deployment was great for my character, especially whenever I go into something. I try to think about how I can improve from it, even if it's some silly task, and that's just how the deployment was for me. I wanted to improve, and I think I can confidently say that I improved in a lot of spaces, but I'm also lacking in a lot still. So that self-reflection is huge. And yeah, I mean, if anyone's watching this at the end, you can reach out to Elijah and I, and we'll help you out with a gym or whatever you need. I think I said that last time too, and nobody hit me up, so I'm disappointed. I know there's somebody watching this that wants to. But yeah, I mean, I think that's all I got. Thank you for having me back on. It was an honor, and I'm glad I can make it.
Yeah, Zach, you were wonderful, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.